Hi, and welcome to the introductory video in the This Could Be a Good Time video series. This is a project that I've been working on for a long time, almost a decade really, in some form or another, but really in earnest for the last year. It's really crystallized what it is I'm trying to say. The first 9 years were just these little glimmers of something that I felt like was coming. But this project is part book, maybe part documentary, part kind of archive of stories of people who are living into this new reality, who are having a good time on the earth. And part program to help mentor people through this transition. And the basic theory is that we're living in this time of great transition, and that there are kind of two ways that you can go about this transition. One is the way of suffering, and the other is the way of light. And the way of suffering is the way in which you are clinging to all the old systems, the old economic system, the old political system, the old ego system, the old relationships, whatever it is, your old way of being in the world that has worked really well for you for a long time, and that increasingly for more and more people is not working in various different ways. They're experiencing kind of it's like getting to the end of your rope or the end of some road, and this can manifest in all kinds of different ways, right? It can manifest in job loss, it can manifest in a sense of hopelessness or a sense of no longer getting pleasure from the things that you used to get pleasure from, or a loss of meaning. This experience that ways of going about doing things in the world doesn't work for you anymore. All different kinds of ways, deaths, loss, whatever. It can manifest in all different kinds of ways. But if you respond to these moments that are kind of urging you forward to a new path, if you respond to these moments by kind of clinging to what was, and clinging to what was can look like different things. It can be literally this very obvious fearful clinging that you see in people, where they're obviously so terrified that they're filled with so much anger and rage that's directed at anything that might even hint of difference from what it is, whatever it is that makes them feel safe, right? That's one way that it can manifest. But it can also manifest in this way of thinking that you're moving past this old system, in fact, wanting to move past this old system, being an activist against this old system, and yet still clinging to all of the ways that, all of the same kind of modes of being, modes of thinking that are within this old system, right? So you see this lots of times in activists who are kind of fighting against the old system, and yet unconsciously doing this in ways that embody the power dynamics of the old system. And even when they think that they're trying really hard to be radical and disruptive of those, power hierarchies that are in the old system, they're still going about things in this very linear kind of hyper-rational, antagonistic way of thinking that what their job of an activist is to fight against some evil that is outside themselves. And that, as lots of people have pointed out, isn't working so well anymore. And if that still really feels meaningful to you and really is calling you, then I feel like you have to kind of ride that out to the point where you see that it's futile. Nobody else can tell you that. I can't tell you that. I'm not going to convince you. I'm not trying to convince you. But if you have realized or have reached a point where whatever it was you used to be doing doesn't feel meaningful to you anymore, then this video, I think, is primarily for you. So, the way of suffering is this way of clinging in one form or another to what was, either clinging to the actual system or clinging to the way in which, the ways of being that made that system possible, ways of thinking that made that system possible. The other way is the way of light and fun, rainbows and unicorns. But anyway, the other way that we're going to be focused on in this video series is this path that that really could be a good time. And you see this happening everywhere around the earth once you realize that it's possible and you start looking for it. They're everywhere. There are groups of people and there are individuals and even companies that are doing things in a different way. And sometimes it's the smallest little tweak in how they're doing things. But if you change, it's kind of a spiritual truth that if you change one thing, you change everything. And if you change one little bit of the fabric of the matrix as it currently exists, if you pull one little strand, it slowly unravels everything else and becomes this radically transformative event, right? And so there are lots of lenses through which you can see this path of light. But at its most fundamental, it's the decision to kind of pivot away from all of this darkness, not because you don't see it and not because you're trying to hide from it or because you don't think it's real, but because you have, in fact, you've seen the darkness, you've analyzed it ad nauseum, you know why the system isn't just, you know why climate change is real, you know all the problems at a rational level, and you have felt the grief of and the suffering in some form or fashion of that the system has created. And you have realized that underneath that suffering, underneath all this rational analysis, there is this other power, this other reality within yourself and within the earth as a whole that is a powerfully transformative reality that is creative, and that this power is within you, so you get to be a co-creator of whatever comes next. And so part of the work that I've been doing in recent years is as a sustainable economies lawyer, which is someone who's providing legal services for all these different individuals and groups who are kind of building this new world, this what comes next, and helping them navigate this old system of the law that still embodies all these old values and trying to bring those two worlds together as much as possible. And through that work and through just my own interactions with other people who are really living into this new reality, I've developed this framework of different values that transition, or experiences that transition as a person makes this transition. Here's what they can experience. And I'll just give one example now. One example is that your work becomes play. And some people kind of bucket this, that it's too, I don't know, non-serious, I think is generally the reaction, that it needs to be serious. But it's basically this, if you encounter someone, I'll give you an example of someone. I have a friend who has done lots of things in the world. Started an eco-education center. He started multiple eco-villages. He started an organic food company, a transformational festival, or done it collectively with others. And he's always doing things to make the world a better place, and very concrete, practical things. But if you ask him what his work is, he will tell you that he doesn't see anything that he does through that lens, that he has really over time collapsed the difference between work and play, that what he would do if he woke up in the morning is exactly what he does. It's all play to him. It's life-giving, it's energizing, it's fun, it's creating new worlds, it's creating this new system in the shadows of the current system, right? That is more life-giving for him and more life-giving for everyone that comes into contact with one of his projects, right? It's got more beauty in it. It's got more lightness. It's got more that kind of childlike playfulness that is so hard for so many adults to embody. It's got more peace. It's got more love. It's got all of the good things that really make life meaningful and good. It's got so much more of those kinds of things than we can access under the current system. So the difference between work and play is not a difference of productivity, as it were. It's not a difference of whether or not you're doing something or being effective in the world. It's a difference of how you're experiencing it. For him, it's play because it's coming from a deep place within himself, and he's cleared out enough of the fear and the other emotional wounds, feelings of, not being worthy or not being good enough or whatever, or fear about what other people will think of him. All of those things that keep most of us small. He's cleared out enough of that and healed enough of that he can really just let whatever is inside of him, whatever vision comes to him, he can really just let it out and manifest it in the world through his actions. Whereas for most adults, that's just not possible. If you took away all of the weight of shoulds and haves that most adults carry around. They're like, I have to have this job, I have to do this, I have to do the dishes, I have to put the kids to bed at this time. If you took away all of those burdens that you carry around on yourself, most adults, what they would initially experience is just a whole ocean of emotional woundedness that they haven't been dealing with their whole lives. And so part of the transition process is going through some of that emotional healing. But we'll save that for another video. The point is that on this path of light, it is a path to, the path itself is fun. It's focused on the good that you can do in the world, the beauty that you see, bringing out the beauty that you see within yourself, that you can find within yourself, and creating that, whatever it is. Everybody's different, and we all have different skills and gifts to bring here, but it's really finding that, focusing on that, and believing that it really is possible for all of this collapse and chaos to be kind of not the point. What the point is what collapse and chaos only occurs in order to make space for deeper life and flourishing. And there's no need for us to spend a great deal of energy focusing or fighting the system, because the system is collapsing on its own. What we really desperately need to do is have more of us really focused on building what comes next, because the more that we do that, the more that system is in place, the more those new ways of relating, working, of eating, of exchanging, of celebrating, the more that is in place, the easier this transition is going to be. And for those of us who can see that and can already feel the need for that, like we have a great responsibility to get to work and build these systems, build these spaces for community to exist, for commerce in a new form to take place, for relationships to be healed, for individuals to be healed, so that when collapse does occur, there's some place for people to fall. There's this cushion. There are these communities that already exist. Or as people slowly fall off of the system, even before, or maybe it won't come to a big cataclysmic collapse. It'll just, as people slowly lose faith in the system, they'll see, oh, look, there's this other way of doing things. We can form a cooperative, right? Oh, look, we could share, right? We could all have enough resources to provide for our material well-being. There's this other way of doing things. So the most important takeaway is really, if you are someone who can see or feel the changes that are taking place on the earth, if your old way of being is no longer working for you, your old way of doing is no longer working for you, if what used to be meaningful is no longer meaningful for you, and you have this sort of suspicion somewhere deep in your being that there has to be another way, this video is for you. Is to affirm that deep feeling that there is another way, and that there's another way of being as an individual, and that there's another way of living collectively, and that this is a really beautiful thing. So as much as possible, dive into that, follow that bliss, follow that joy, follow that urging deep inside of you that there is more to life, that there is the possibility for deeper connection with other human beings, for deeper joy, for deeper pleasure, for deeper peace, for a release from the emotional burdens that you carry, that healing is possible. All of these things are real. They aren't just frou-frou things that spiritually people like to talk about. They're real realities that we can all experience. And if you are one of those people, you are desperately needed right now on the earth. You are desperately needed to be a different kind of banker, or a different kind of business person, or a different kind of lawyer, or a different kind of teacher, or a different kind of mother or father, whatever, a different kind of musician, a different kind of songwriter or music producer, a different kind of writer, whatever it is your role is on this earth. We desperately need you to help build the new the new system, to help build what comes next. So that is why this project is called This Could Be a Good Time. Instead of this time of darkness and apocalypse, this really could be a good time. And it's going to be a good time, and by really diving into and doggedly searching out your own deep life and flourishing, whatever that looks like for you, and it'll look different for everybody, but whatever that looks like for you, find it. And don't give up, don't give in, don't settle for anything less than the full experience of being alive. So, over the next weeks and months, I'm going to continue to unpack this idea and to provide some help with how you go through this process of healing, so that you can find this new vision within yourself of who you will be under a different paradigm, so that you can heal and so that you can find that space within yourself that already knows what it needs to do, that already knows who it is, that needs nothing from the outside, because everything, the whole universe is within you. So healing and finding that space, and then that space will tell you what you need to do. That is what this series is going to be about. So thank you for listening, and please contact me with any questions or for more information about the project at the email address below or on Facebook. Thanks so much. Take care.